What up, Patriots? It's your boy, technically Clay, streaming at you from windy St. Louis, Missouri. Haven't heard that descriptor yet, have you? How's everybody doing today? I'm doing pretty good. I hope you're doing good as well. Let's see. Since the last time you saw me, I did a DSA thing. I did do the raid with our guild, but more importantly, it was just a one boss raid, so it was pretty easy on heroic. But then we tried mythic. We weren't able to do it. We were also a person down for mythic. We would have needed 15 people, and we had 14 people. So let's see. We also we talked, but more importantly, what I was going to say is I think we're going to play some game at some point called something Chameleon. I think it's like a hide and seek type game or something with the guild. I think this Friday is when they said they were going to do it, so that should be really fun. And you know, we'll see. Maybe I'll record it locally, maybe I'll stream it. We'll see what goes on, but yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'm excited for that. Let's see, other than that, didn't really do much else. I basically just went to bed after that. Then I woke up today. I went to work. Not, you know, the relatively easy day at work, I would say. I worked out today, you know, first time this week. I'm probably only going to do 2 days this week, you know. It is what it is. When I don't get a good start to the week on like Monday, you know, I usually slack a little, but it's fine. And then let's see, I finished off the workday. I heated up some just frozen, or I like boiled some frozen dumplings and made like roasted Brussels sprouts with like a soy honey glaze type thing, just roasted them in the oven. It turned out okay. You know, I think, I don't know, I feel like it was still missing a little something. I didn't really follow a recipe for that. I just kind of winged it. I feel like it was still missing just a little bit of something, but I don't know what that something is. But and then let's see, then I came right here to be with you, the viewer. Hello. Hello. Dun, dun, dun. Say goodbye, they say hello. That's what I always think whenever, and my wife also said she always thinks of that anytime you hear hello. Let's see. Okay, so today we're going over the news of the day. The general vibe for today, what we're going to be going over is Iran. We got some new text to look over, the memorandum of understanding. It seems like it's been leaked, maybe, or you know, more likely strategically put out into the ether by you know, someone close, like a CIA official or like someone involved in the negotiations, either for nefarious purposes or you know, potentially for just trying to like dampen down, like get the critics to come out and critique it early so that it dies down by the time Friday comes around. I don't really know. We'll see if we can figure something out there. We're going to go over some of the electoralism stuff. So yesterday there were some primaries. We're going to go over those, see what the results were, and then go over a couple articles related to DSA, you know, my organization. It's mine. And then we're going to talk about some silly stuff like the algae and the reflecting pool. Unbeatable, unwinnable, hardest boss, harder than the boss we had to kill in raid last night is that algae. And then UFC 250, Trump's idiocracy style UFC event that he had on the front lawn of the White House. And then after that, I got a Luigi story. I haven't read it. I don't know what it's about, but according to the title, it sounds like it might be a W for all the free Luigi heads out there. So other than that, we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll get through it fast and I can do some other stories. I honestly, you know, I'm going through new stuff with how I present the show. So I'm, you know, I'm still figuring things out, but I think I'm starting to like what, you know, like how it's going, but I just want to get the good mix between doing longer content, like longer stories, and like diving deeper, but then also getting some of that, like, you know, easy clippable 10 to 15 minute like meat and potatoes that YouTube just fucking loves. So that's what, I'm trying to mix those two up, because the people out there love the 10 to 15 minute just like react videos. That's like the algorithm eats that shit like candy. And so I gotta put some of it out there. I'm trying. Okay. I'm trying. So, but really the things that I think are more important are my longer form stuff that I'm trying to do now. So, but anyway, okay. That being said, I am rambling way too much. Let's get right into the news. We're going to talk about, like I said, Iran is first. First up is Iran. I figured what better way to start off with Iran than to go over the full text of the memorandum of understanding. Now, I'm going to be honest. I do not know for sure if this is the actual text that it's going to end up being. Okay. I don't know if this is like, I don't know who leaked it. I don't know for what purpose they leaked it. Or if it was actually like released by America. This means if it's released by an American official, then that means okay, let's actually just read this. Below is the full text of the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding as delivered by a senior administration official in a briefing with reporters. Okay, so this was revealed by a senior administration official. So this is officially what America wants out there. So we need to take that in mind whenever we're reading this in terms of like how accurate it is going to be. Because my understanding is also that a lot of these things are in flux, right? A lot of the current agreements, they may have been like verbal, but I don't know for sure if they have I don't know. Maybe they're more static now. I can't remember, because they had like an agreement. I think that this is what the terms were going to be. So maybe it is more static. I don't know. I guess only time will tell once we hit Friday. But anyway, with that being said, let's take our grubby little hands and get all over this memorandum of understanding, and we'll see what we think. We'll see if my assumptions were right, if my assumptions were wrong. Who knows? Let's find out. We'll just read the intro just because why not? It's like one paragraph. The big picture. The MoU declares the war to be over, calls for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz and the U.S. to lift its blockade, launches 60 days of nuclear negotiations, waives sanctions to let Iran sell oil during those 60 days, and includes massive economic incentives should Iran sign a final nuclear deal. Okay. Because the official read the deal to reporters, and the print text has not been released. This transcript may be inexact, for example, in terms of punctuation. That's a kind of a red flag to me, because that means I interpret that differently. I interpret that as we are reading it to you and not giving you the exact text specifically because we want to be able to make modifications to it or to how we present it to the American people by the time we get to Friday. So this feels more like a preemptive, like they're preemptively putting this out there to get people on board, get the propaganda started on trying to make this not look like the massive L that it probably is. But anyway, with all that being said, let's just go ahead and get right into it. It's 14 clauses. Another reason that I trust that Iran Observer X account more, they said it was going to be 14 clauses, and it is 14 clauses according to this. So anyway, clause 1. Or section 1. We'll just call them sections. Section 1, or item 1. Item 1. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war, by signing this MoU, declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and other provisions of this paragraph. Okay, right off the bat, you'll notice it says including in Lebanon, and this part right here, this clause right here, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. My understanding is that this is one of the major concessions that Trump gave in response to like Iran calling off their like Iran was about to respond to Israel striking Beirut, and apparently this was part of what was agreed to be given to Iran in order to stave off that attack. This is as clear as day what it's saying. Ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. I mean, America and Israel are going to interpret this in like the most absurd manner they possibly can in order to justify continued occupation. But, the plain-faced reading of it is that Israel has to get the fuck out of Lebanon. We'll see if that actually happens. I personally do not believe, I do not believe that Trump is has the cojones to tell Benjamin Netanyahu to you have to leave you have to do like a humiliation march for the IOF out of Lebanon. Maybe we'll see. This is the primary reason that I don't think that this will actually end up. I'm not so convinced, I guess, that this is going to actually go through, that we're going to make it through the 60 days and get to a final agreement. But only time will tell. It all depends on when Israel inevitably violates the ceasefire or the memorandum of understanding. What will Iran do? Will they cut off the Strait of Hormuz again? Maybe. But anyway, let's move on to item number 2. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. So my assumption for the MoU, by the way, is that this is specifically around this 60-day period. I'm assuming that this MoU will be like the workable basis for the final for the final agreement. Like they're going to be working off of this as a basis for what they're finally going to sign at the very end after they do the nuclear talks and stuff. But so at least during this MoU, we're going to respect each other's sovereignty. Well, Iran has always respected America's sovereignty. Because Iran has never invaded America, but the United States is going to respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Iran during that phase. That just means America is not going to invade or attack during that time period. Take it all with a grain of salt. America's whole philosophy is lie, cheat, and steal. So, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in a maximum of 60 days, extendable by mutual consent. So like I said, they're going to be working on this entire thing as a basis for 60 days, extendable by mutual consent. So this means that they can keep pushing it off indefinitely, which might end up being what happens. It might be that Trump doesn't have the will to go through with actually signing the end result, and we'll just keep punting until it gets pushed out to like the next administration or something. Item number 4. Immediately upon the signing of this MoU, the United States of America will begin the removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances or impediments against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. So a 30-day drawdown from America's side. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. So, this means that America will immediately start drawing down during those 30 days. Iran will, During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran. That's kind of key. Those words are kind of key. It indicates that Iran is going to be the one facilitating the restoration of traffic, right? They are going to be the ones, I think that I don't know if there's going to be a toll. It says nothing about tolls on here. But it does seem like there's going to be some sort of, the ships are going to have to talk to the IRGC and go through their system in order to get through this. Is kind of how I'm interpreting that. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity 30 days after the final deal. So America has to go home, which, thank God. It costs like $1 billion a day just to like hang out over there. So, let's see. Item number 5. Upon the signing of this MoU, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge. Oh, there it is. No charge. So it is in the memorandum of understanding. There will be no charge. Again, that can be interpreted in different ways. However, it is very explicit. The plain face reading would be that Iran is not going to be setting up a toll or an environmental fee or anything of that matter. Okay, sorry. Its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days, only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. Will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days, only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. I don't really know what that last part is necessarily about. I assume they're just saying only in that vicinity. So Iran will not be facilitating this outside of that vicinity. That might just be cover your ass language for America, to make sure Iran doesn't expand its regional influence even further than it already has. And we'll see about that no charge. I kind of have a feeling there's going to be some sort of fee eventually, but maybe they'll wait till after the 60 days. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and considering the need for removing the technical and military obstacles and demining by the Islamic Republic of Iran will be instated within 30 days. I'm still not convinced that they ever mined it. I'm going to be honest. I still am not. I've not seen any evidence of that. Nobody has shown me a picture of a mine being laid by Iran. As far as I'm aware, nobody has hit a mine, so I'm still not convinced that has even happened. But you know what? It's also a good tactic from an American rhetorical perspective to be like, well, we have to give some control to them because they know where the mines are, right? Like Iran is going to be facilitating this, and like you could nominally be like, oh, well, they have to have some control over the strait in order, or they have to facilitate some of the traffic because they're the only ones who know where the mines are. Like there's, that's like a good rhetorical device that America can use. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration and maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz. That sounds like a fee, a shared fee, but a fee. In discussion with other Persian Gulf littoral states. I don't know if I like that word. It's like one letter away from being, sorry. Man, I'm too immature to be doing this shit. Why does anyone listen to me? In discussion with other Persian Gulf littoral states, in line with the applicable international law and the sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. That sounds to me like there's going to be an environmental fee at some point, just like what Turkey has, which apparently it's consistent with international law over there. The United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. We've already heard about that. That number has been floated out there. So that's not surprising at all. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as part of a final deal within 60 days. All required licenses, waivers, and permissions needed for the relevant financial transactions will be granted by the United States. Let me just really quick look up Iran GDP, I guess. So 300 billion, by the way, is their entire GDP, like their annual GDP. So they're essentially getting that would like 100% increase their GDP for the year. No, I'm assuming this will take more than a year for all of these funds to get to them. I'm also gonna assume that it's gonna be a lot of fun being funneled through the Gulf states. Either the Gulf states are going to engage in it directly, or America will, funnel funds through the Gulf states in order to get to Iran. That's just Trump, cover your ass stuff. Like, he doesn't want to be seen as giving piles, planes worth of cash, straight to the Islamic Republic of Iran. So yeah, this is item number 7. The United States of America undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions against the Islamic against the Islamic Republic of Iran, including the UN Security Council resolutions, IAEA Board of Governors resolutions, and all unilateral, aka illegal, U.S. sanctions, primary and secondary, and an agreed upon schedule as part of the final deal. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America acknowledge the critical importance of the sanctions termination issue above mentioned and express their intentions to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. Jesus, all the sanctions, they're all gone. They're all gone. It's honestly, okay, these two are interlinked. 6 and 7 are interlinked. You can't have people investing in Iran, capital flowing into Iran without the sanctions relief. And so I believe that both of these were core components of what Iran wanted, because if you got the sanctions relief without the capital flow, then that would then America would have the capability or the desire at some point in the future to just snap those sanctions back on, just like Trump did when he blew up the JCPOA. If you have this $300 billion over a 5-year period or however long they want to set it over, the only way that works is for these sanctions to be gone, because otherwise, how would it even work? Maybe they could re-sanction specific things if they want to. I wouldn't put it past America to do it, but this sort of incorporation of the Gulf states into the economic architecture of Iran just really is kind of reshaping the entire region, with Iran firmly at the top, is kind of how I'm interpreting a lot of this so far. And that's crazy, to terminate all types of sanctions. Bye-bye, sanctions. Nice to know you. Okay. The Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons, like what they've been saying since before the war started. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpiled enriched material pursuant to a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the scheduled mention in paragraph 7. Okay, so scheduled with the sanction. Pursuant to a mechanism to resolve the disposition of stockpiled enriched. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to get all these words in my head. That will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7, with the minimum methodology to be downblended on site under the supervision of IAEA. Wait, so they're just straight up admitting that it's going to be downblended, if I interpreted that correctly. To a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7, with the minimum methodology to be downblending on site under the supervision of the IAEA. So this is, okay, I think I understand what this is saying. It's saying the minimum methodology, aka the bare minimum that Iran will have to do is downblend. And I assume from America, they're trying to get this language in here so that they can say, well, maximally we could go in and take it or whatever, right? Or get it sent to Russia. But I've been saying from the very, 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 very beginning that is never going to happen. Iran is not going to let America come in and take the dust. It's not going to happen. It's just straight up you're delusional if you think that's going to happen. It is not going to happen. It's not going to be sent to Russia. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay. It's going to be in Iran. This very specific sentence is indicating this is what it's going to be. And Iran has agreed to downblending, which is what I always thought they were going to do. So, go me, I guess. The two parties also agreed to discuss the issue of enrichment and other mutually agreed matters related to the Islamic Republic of Iran's nuclear needs based on satisfactory framework being agreed upon in the final deal. I assume that's, civilian, various medical purposes for enrichment, just getting that agreed to. The final deal will, just normal JCPOA shit, to be honest. The final deal will confirm the provisions of this paragraph. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran acknowledge the critical importance of the nuclear issues above mentioned and express their intuition to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. So I also want people to be aware that these two, 7 and 8, that was the JCPOA, okay? Out of the memorandum of understanding that I'm seeing here, I mean, yes, obviously territorial integrity, okay, sure. Sovereignty, okay, sure. So like the 1 and 2 ones, those I don't even really consider that big of a part, except for the Lebanon portion, which is kind of important. But at the very least, 2 is also, 3. A lot of these are technical language about like what's going to be happening. So I don't want people to get too twisted, but I want people to be clear that this part right here was the JCPOA. It was downblending the uranium, inspectors coming in to watch it, and also inspectors having continuous access to be able to see it, which I assume there will be some portion of that as well in the final agreement that's signed after 60 days. All the rest of this shit, though, $300 billion of development, aka reparations, whatever else we're going to see, expanding Iran's, regional influence to include Lebanon and forcing Israel to stop there. I mean, fingers crossed. We'll see if it happens. But yeah, anyway, let's see. So this is the one. Or wait, I just read this one, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's read item number 9. Pending the final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agreed to maintain the status quo. The Islamic Republic of Iran will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program, and the United States of America will not impose any new sanctions and will not deploy additional forces to the region. That's just, language for in the interim, we're not changing anything. Item number 10. The United States of America undertakes that immediately upon the signing of this MoU and until the termination of sanctions, the U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives, and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurance, transportation, etc. This is day one, like before the actual agreement is signed, before the sanctions are officially lifted. They're getting waivers to be able to sell their oil, sell their petroleum products out on the free market. That's all that is, I guess. The United States of America, so this is item number 11. The United States of America undertakes to make fully available for use the frozen or restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran upon the implementation of the MoU. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will mutually agree on the procedures related to the release of these funds during the negotiations. Such funds, whether retained in the original account or transferred, shall be made fully usable for payment to any ultimate beneficiary usable for payment to any ultimate beneficiary designated by the Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America undertakes to issue all necessary licenses and authorizations accordingly. Okay. I've heard a lot of numbers thrown around when it comes to this portion. This is unfreezing Iranian money, right? The money that is rightfully Iran's. America has currently frozen it. It is not able to be accessed. This will release it. To make fully available, it says fully available for use the frozen or restricted funds, and so this makes it sound like it's all of it. I've heard the number of $100 billion being thrown around. Immediately accessible $100 billion is going to be crazy for Iran's development right now, right? Like obviously they deserve it. Like America went into this war of choice, war of aggression against Iran. They deserve the reparations to be able to fix all this stuff. Their estimate for the amount of damage that was done was $400 billion. So you know what, in all honesty, and I mean, you can take that number with a grain of salt. It's the, IRGC or like the Iranian government that's stating it. But they deserve to be compensated, especially since we lost the war. They deserve to be compensated. And like I said before, this is their money. This is just straight up like their money that's been held by America for a long time. So it sounds like it's all going to be get transferred. And it has to be usable for payment to any ultimate beneficiary that Iran designates. So it has to be usable, available to be used to any, anyone and everyone that Iran decides to do business with. I'm assuming unless they're also sanctioned by the United States government or something, but I don't know. Maybe that's part of it too. Maybe Iran gets a sanctions-free purchase of $100 billion. Who knows? Okay, item number 12. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation of this MoU and the future compliance of the final deal. I assume that's, that's going to be IAEA monitoring, generally speaking, if I had to guess. After number 13, after signing this MoU, and subject to the beginning of the implementation of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11 of this MoU, and the continuing implementation of these measures, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will start negotiations regarding the final deal exclusively on the other paragraphs. And then 14, the final deal will be endorsed by a binding UNSC, United Nations Security Council resolution. Okay. So this all looks very similar to what I had been seeing the whole time for the Iran's 10-point proposal for a memorandum of understanding. I'm going to be honest. The only thing that's different is, the methodologies. There's a lot of and then also the specifics, obviously. But in general, this matches almost exactly what I was expecting it to be. The only thing that I think that I see that it's missing, and maybe I missed it or misinterpreted it. It could have been in here. I'm not saying, when I'm reading it on stream, sometimes I'm not reading it as closely as I would because I'm also focused on processing and talking. So, but like the only thing that I'm not really seeing is the withdrawal of American troops. The only thing that indicates that is, let's see, where was it? Okay. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. That is very vague, though. I don't know for sure if that means, all of the Gulf states, right? We have like dozens, if not hundreds, of military bases around the region, right? Surrounding Iran on all sides. I don't know if this includes that or not, right? It's very vague. It could be interpreted either way. It could be interpreted like America could interpret it as we're removing all of our extra assets, but we're leaving the original assets. Or it could be interpreted as, by Iran's side, as, no, we want all of the military bases around the region gone. We don't want to feel pressured. We don't want to feel like you got your rockets trained on us. We want to prevent this from happening again. It could be interpreted either way. But in the end, I don't think it matters because all of these Gulf states are going to start getting, they understand the situation now. There was always this hypothetical that Iran... that Iran could be contained, right? Iran could be contained, America could contain it, and all of the region, all of the Gulf states' entire ideology was predicated on that fact, or that fact that they were thinking before, that ideology, I should say, I guess. And so Iran has shown, like, this is what the folly of Trump's decision to get into this war is bringing about, is that America finally played the card of like military intervention in Iran, and it failed. And so now all of these countries are going to have to start reevaluating. Iran will be here forever. They can no longer pretend like Iran will one day go away, that Iran will, that America will contain Iran, and one day we will be able to overpower Iran and, control the region or whatever, right? They all have to come to the realization that Iran is the regional hegemon. Okay. So in the end, I think it would like technically be beneficial for them to remove as many of these bases from their soil as possible. Now, maybe they will try to counterbalance. I mean, that's, a big thing in geopolitics is like counterbalancing between two powers in order to get some benefits from each of them, compromising between each of them or trying to play neutral between each of them. There could be some of that. Who knows, right? Only time will tell. But anyway, this looks basically exactly like what I was expecting. Okay, so that was fun. We know, this is the leaked text that was read out loud and therefore could be subject to minor changes or whatever, right? But this is the official Trump administration, like senior administration official reading of the memorandum of understanding. Now we know. Okay, now we know. I'm going to treat it as though it's true in my head for now until we get, full confirmation on Friday. But yeah, that's kind of what we know so far. So with that being said, let's go into, let's see some of the responses here. Let's start with Fox News, right? So Fox News is in an interesting conundrum right now, right? Because they have two conflicting goals, two contradicting goals in their head, or like as an organization right now. Always praise dear leader Trump. Everything he does is great. And this is clearly a geopolitical defeat. And we also kind of want, like the neocons and the warmongers and the Israelis want to go back into the war. So they have two competing, like completely contradictory things in the end. Like dear leader Trump wants to get out of this war, but Israel and the neocons and warhawks and a lot of the neoliberals too, all want to go, full balls to the wall, boots on the ground, all that good shit. So, I'm curious what their coverage is going to be. This one is from 3 hours ago. It's got our boy Tel Aviv Trey in there. Like he's going to be commentating. But yeah, let's go ahead and watch this. We'll see what their analysis is, what Tel Aviv Trey is thinking, whoever that guy is, what he's thinking, and we'll see what's going on with the Fox News boomers, what they're thinking.
Trump in a short bilateral news conference a few minutes ago with the Prime Minister of India said this. He declared Iran, the deal is a wall to a nuclear war. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. We are now waiting for the president to speak at a formal news conference on that deal, potentially a lot of other things, but specifically that. And that could happen at any moment. The first in detail from the commander-in-chief since we first learned of the memorandum of understanding, reportedly kicking off a 60-day negotiation for final agreement. There would be a ceasefire on all fronts, including Lebanon. But it leaves out any mention specifically of Israel's withdrawing there.
Not from what I saw. There was the text. I mean, okay, I'll bring it back in. Man, I thought I was done with this tab, but the tab keeps trying to get out, and I just keep bringing it back in. But yeah, it does mention Lebanon, and the text says, and this is, like I said before, what was potentially added based on Iran's decision to not strike back at Israel for bombing Beirut. So it says, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. Now, of course, they're going to do rhetorical trickery. Well, actually, Hezbollah is the reason that Lebanon doesn't have territorial integrity, and therefore we have to keep fighting it. They're going to do shit like that. Of course they are. but the text does mention it, and so I think that they should be a little more accurate in their reporting personally.
The Iran proxy terror group Hezbollah is who they're fighting in Lebanon. So we're still waiting to hear, will it actually include that? Iran would guarantee safe passage for ships in the Strait of Hormuz, and the United States would pause any new sanctions. Iran affirms no nuclear weapons, we're told, as part of the deal. Now, all of this has been reported after reported leaks of the 14-point deal. We still don't know what's in totality in the deal. President Trump, just a short time ago.
47 years, Iran took advantage of the world, the Middle East, but the world. Nobody did anything. The Obama deal was one of the...
By the way, the Axios report that I was reading was from 1 hour ago. This video is from 3 hours ago. So it's possible that that this actual report of the senior administration official releasing the details of the deal had not come out by this point. So so maybe that's why they, they're going off the leaked stuff that like CNN had before. But I think this one is pretty official from what I can tell, just given who they're saying it's sourced from. So take that into account when we're listening to them cover this. They might be going off of outdated leaked information as opposed to like what the official administration report of the memorandum of understanding is.
Dumbest deals I've ever seen. It was a road to a nuclear weapon. My deal is a wall to a nuclear. You're not going to have it. It's a wall to a nuclear weapon. I think it'll be done. They want to sign. They want to get back to a normal life. We hit them very hard.
And you saw the president there. That's from that bilateral that I mentioned that wrapped up just a few minutes ago. That was the prime minister of Modi with him there. He did take a few questions, the president, but that full-fledged news conference is upcoming. We're covering all of this from all angles. Vice Admiral John Fozzie Miller will join me in moments. First, let's go to Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst on the ground in Israel. Trey.
Harris, good morning. The signing ceremony for the Memorandum of Understanding between the United States and Iran is just 48 hours away. It's difficult to confirm specific line items in the text because it hasn't been released yet to the public. We do anticipate getting more information in the hours and days ahead. White House officials say that recent documents that are circulating are not accurate. Reports do indicate the deal includes the resumption of traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, an end to the U.S. naval blockade on Iran, and this negotiating window of 60 days about Iran's nuclear program. Now, the Iranians will receive tiered sanctions relief, and there will be a ceasefire on all fronts, including Lebanon. Vice President J.D. Vance was on the Five last night and said this about Iran's ability to get sanctions relief.
So the United States wins either way. As the president said, either they get nothing, we destroyed their nuclear program and the Straits of Hormuz are open, or they fundamentally transform themselves, and that's a big win, too. It's really up to them.
The fundamentally transforming themselves is a red herring. They are defined as like they are like America is the one who defines their enemies, right? A lot of these countries don't like have any real smoke for America. I mean, they do in regard to like, America has been fucking around in their region for a long time and like exploiting a lot of their people, creating chaos, creating destabilization. Like for a lot of those reasons, they don't like America, I guess. But inherently, they just want to live in peace, and they don't feel like they can with America's posture. They want to live with sovereignty, I guess is what I would say. They don't want to be controlled by America. And so that is what gets you the designation of, enemy of America. It's not ideological. It's not anything other than like we are the empire and we want everybody to vassalize themselves to us. If you look at our relationship with all of the, EU countries, right? Japan, South Korea, the East Asia countries. If you look at our relationship with Ukraine or, I don't know, any of the allies and stuff that we have, it is a fundamentally like it is a very much a one-way street. And especially, okay, when you start looking, sorry, those were maybe bad examples. What I really want to talk about, I guess, more is like if you look at our relationship with like Venezuela or various African countries, or places where we go in and, just extract, right? That's what America wants is what we currently want Cuba to be too. But that's what America wants our relationship with all of these countries to be. And if you decide to have the fortitude and to actually fight back against that, to have a decolonial, revolutionary struggle to take control of your government back from America's pedo-billionaires, that is when you get deemed an enemy. So whether America determines Iran is an enemy or not after this is really just up to America. As Iran is not going to be it's not going to be trying to take out America. Iran doesn't give a shit what America does insofar as it's not, supporting Israel and fucking up the region, right? Those are the core things. If Israel behaved in a normal way, like a normal ass fucking country with borders, and America wasn't constantly, destabilizing the region with various foreign wars or funneling weapons and whatever into the region, fanning the flames of sectarian infighting, all of that stuff. If America stopped doing that and Israel behaved like a normal fucking country, then Iran wouldn't have any problem with them, and everybody would just live and let live. So this is all just, I guess I just want to make people to be aware of that this is all self-imposed.
Largest X factor here is Iran's nuclear program. Over those next 60 days, the details of the program are set to be discussed. But in the past, the Iranians have been unwilling to make serious concessions. President Trump said Tuesday the U.S. will go into Iran, get their highly enriched uranium, and destroy it. It's not clear if the Iranians have agreed to this point. At the G7 earlier today, the president also...
They haven't, according to the text that we just read. It is left arbitrary, and it said that it does have specific text about, at the minimum, Iran will downblend their uranium, which is what's going to happen.
So push back on reports about a reconstruction fund for Iran.
Well, it's been reported that it includes a $300 billion reconstruction fund funded by Gulf allies. That's false?
It's false. People, you can invest if you want. I mean, what am I going to do? Say nobody's ever allowed to invest? No, we're not investing. We're not putting up 10 cents. And people can decide to do that, but that's up to them.
Here in Tel Aviv, we are tracking new reports of Israeli airstrikes against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. We don't know the exact language in this agreement as it relates to Israel's ability to take offensive or defensive action. Harris?
All right, real quickly on that, because that's been a sticking point, a big question about whether or not Israel would be part of this, and it's basically war with Hezbollah right now inside Lebanon. So what does that look like right now? Are they, in fact, evacuating those areas of southern Lebanon and northern Israel to continue that?
Well, okay. Here's the thing, is they would have to do that for there to be any semblance of an actual, deal. If they're Iran has tied these two together. It is in their interest to, force Israel's capitulation and withdrawal in this particular circumstance. And it'll be impossible to have peace if Israel just keeps expanding into every single neighboring country, killing as many brown people as they possibly can find, right? That is not conducive to peace in the region. And so it is Iran, and also Iran needs to know that America will be able to do this. My assumption is that Israel is going to keep violating this. Israel is going to say, we're not withdrawing. It's actually Hezbollah who is the real, affecting the real negative effect when it comes to Lebanese territorial integrity. And we're actually helping with that aspect of the memorandum of understanding or whatever. I assume they're going to say something like this, and then they're going to keep attacking. The question is always, how long will Iran wait before they reclose the Strait of Hormuz, right? If they don't feel like Israel is, abiding by this MoU, then they would have to reclose the Strait of Hormuz. And then at that point, it's then what? Then what does America do? We're essentially getting back into an escalation path at that point. And that's why I'm still highly skeptical that this is actually going to, that we're going to make it through these 60 days. I don't know. I'm kind of let's say, if I wanted to give odds, I'd say I'm 60-40. No, I'd say I'm 70-30, no, 60-40 is pretty good, I think. I'd say I'm 60% thinking that we're not going to make it through this and that Israel is going to sabotage this and draw us back into some sort of at least economic warfare, like reimposing the blockade or something, but potentially even military strikes again. But I don't know. We'll see.
It's a great question. Right now, there are Israeli ground forces in southern Lebanon, inside Hezbollah territory. And again, reports indicate they are still conducting airstrikes against Iran's largest proxy. Now, last night, the IRGC...
The only thing they know how to do is airstrikes. Hezbollah wipes the floor with their ground, like with their ground troops, man. It's crazy.
Threatened to bomb Israel if they continued these strikes. And we heard from Iran's foreign minister just 2 days ago saying that Israeli strikes against Lebanon would be a violation of the memorandum of understanding. And so a lot of details to be worked out here and questions about if the Iranians will hold up their end of the bargain.
All right,
Harris?
that's very, very important for my next discussion. Trey Ying's always a great job. Thank you very much. A new opinion piece with this headline: emboldened Iran returns to nuclear talks. Tehran has learned it can survive the worst Washington can throw at it. The New York Post editorial board is arguing this part. Trump's Iran deal gives the Islamic Republic big wins up front and America nothing. And the
sucks to suck, losers. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's happening like this? Why do you think? What a lot of these people are going to do is they're going to turn around and say it's because Trump as an individual is just too selfish and too self-aggrandizing, and he wants to move on and he's bored of it, or like they're going to throw all the blame at maybe not Trump, but like the administration in general, because they have to be sycophantic to Trump. But they're going to throw a lot of the blame at the individual actions of the administration. The problem for them is that this has nothing to do with the administration. This has nothing to do with the individual actions of the administration. You could replace this administration. I would let Fox News go in there and replace this administration piece by piece, put every neocon they could possibly find, put John Bolton in charge, put everybody they want in charge of the administration to continue this war, and the end result was always going to be the same. Whether like first of all, like they probably would have ended up, if that happened, they probably would have gone into a ground invasion or ground occupation of some sort. But I think that it would have been incredibly costly, and I don't think there's the political will to maintain it. And so I think that would have probably been pretty short-lived. Like I don't even think it would end up being like an Afghanistan situation, because I don't know if the American people could, withstand tens of thousands, maybe even dozens of thousands of troops, or like hundreds of thousands, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's a little excessive, but like at least tens of thousands of troops being, slaughtered as they're just trying to take over the country, right? So like even if you put everything in there, like all of your ideal people, like neocon people in there, the end result would be the same, because this was a geopolitical issue that was set, like the trajectories of this were set in stone so long ago. America's military-industrial complex is not capable of fighting modern wars. It just isn't, because it's not meant to. Like the goals of the military-industrial complex are not to win wars, okay? The goals of the military-industrial complex are to funnel as much of my and your tax dollars into the hands of as few people as possible. And the way that works is they get contracts after contracts after contracts. They design, redesign, they resource. They just keep spinning their wheels, and in the meantime churning through and vacuum sucking all of my tax dollars out of my pockets into the hands of like 5 pedo billionaire Epstein affiliates or whatever. Like that is the goal when it comes to our military industrial complex. And you take that and you compare it to Iran's military industrial complex, and it's not even like they spend like 200 billion or something. Like what? Okay, let's see. How much does Iran spend on its military annually? 21 billion. Oh, 7 billion, 8 billion, and in that range, right? And we spend $1 trillion on our military. And Iran is able to produce more missiles, more drones, like at a faster pace than America is able to produce missiles or missile interceptors. Even under wartime, when they are being bombed, they are still producing more than we're able to produce. Because like I said, that's not the point. That's not the point of our military industrial complex. So all of this, like this is 20 years, right? 20 to 30 years of like, individuals making decisions, strategic trajectories of, you know, our country under late stage capitalism versus Iran, who specifically designed their entire economy and their entire country around being able to withstand a campaign. 20 or 30 years of just like America's military industrial complex just like decaying, and Iran like specifically and strategically making decisions for this exact circumstance. Of course they were going to win. Of course. And so, yeah, these people, they're going to be butthurt. They're going to try to pretend like if someone else was in charge, it would have gone better. Just, I want people to be aware that it for sure would not have. These trajectories were, they were set in stone. I like to always give the analogy of like, a lot of these things are like giant icebergs in the ocean that are just slowly moving in like one direction, right? They're just slowly moving in one direction and eventually they collide. And, and it takes an immense amount of force, an immense amount of change, and potentially even like shattering the entire iceberg in and of itself to actually change those trajectories. That would be like if we had like, you know, like a revolution in America to take over all of the military industrial complex and make it more efficient or something. Like something along those lines could have changed the trajectory of this. But like outside of that, if it's just, you know, everything, you know, paint by numbers, like go just do like behave as you always have or whatever, there was obviously nothing America was going to be able to do to defeat this. And that was always my thought. But war is a where you take the hypotheticals and you turn them into reality. And so now we have the proof that I was right, which is the most important part, obviously.
The Institute for the Study of War writes the leaked text of the agreement, if accurate, indicates that Iran has emerged from the conflict in a stronger strategic position. In focus with me now, Vice Admiral John Fozzie Miller, a retired commander for U.S. Naval Central Command. Also U.S. Fifth Fleet Commander and Fellow at the Jewish Institute for the National Security of America. Great to see you. I want to get to this point because the president was just being asked, and we are expecting another news conference from him, so we will take it when it goes live. $300 billion reconstruction funds for Iran to be financed by regional powers. That's what has been written about this, but we don't actually have the deal. And moments ago, we played it for you. He says that is false. What's your first reaction to that?
Well, Harris, thanks for having me. It's great to be on with you. My first reaction to it is we ought to wait for the deal to be published to understand what's in it. And what we ought to be looking for are the original goals that were set out at the beginning of the conflict and how well we've done towards achieving those goals in the agreement. Can Iran have a nuclear weapon? Yes or no? Have we dismantled the Iranian ballistic missile program to a point where they can't marry a nuclear weapon to a ballistic missile? Yes or no? Are they still a malign influence?
No, but they still have 90% of their drones, by the way. 90% of their drones and missiles are still intact, and they were producing more during the war. So they might be even, that's according, the 90% is according to like leaks from military officials, but it's probably potentially even higher because they might not have knowledge of the amount of production that they were doing during wartime.
In the neighborhood, either through proxies or by themselves, yes or no. So those are the things we want to look for. One of the
There's nothing in there about the proxies, by the way. We looked over the official text. Like this video came out before the text, but we looked over it and there was nothing about the proxies. So yeah, obviously these people, if they actually think that, I don't understand how they even thought that would be possible for America to get, given how like significant of an L this is.
The neighborhood, either through proxies or by themselves, yes or no. So those are the things we want to look for. One of the things we can be sure of is the best deal we're going to get with the Iranian regime as it currently sits is right now. As soon as they start making money, as soon as the blockade is lifted, they're going to be more difficult to deal with. And we have to keep that in mind as we move forward.
What do you think pushed it to this exact point in time? I mean, Israel's still fighting with Hezbollah. Trey Yinks was just reporting this. I wanted to press a little bit more on, whether or not that would break out into full war. And he said, well, Israel's now inside Lebanon, and the current situation is that the IRGC in Iran has now threatened to hit Israel if they continue defending themselves at this point.
Defending themselves. Yeah, you have to defend yourself by destroying like historical heritage sites of Christians in southern Lebanon. Yeah, you have to bulldoze every single house in southern Lebanon, and that's what you need to do to defend yourself. Just like in Gaza, right, where they turned it into a fucking crater, that looks like a fucking nuclear fallout zone. That's how they defend themselves. Yeah, shut the fuck up, lady.
We're spending a lot of time trying to understand what the Israelis are going to do and whether or not President Trump can rein the Israelis in. I really think we ought to put the ball in the right court here, which is in Iran's court. They're the ones
he can, but will he? That's the question.
That decide whether Hezbollah, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the IRGC, they're the ones that decide whether or not Hezbollah is going to be attacking and conducting military operations in Lebanon against Israel. So it's not.
I guarantee you, if Israel withdraws from the border, if Israel withdraws into Israel, and then Hezbollah will stop firing on them. Hezbollah is only firing on them because Israel is currently invading their territory. So if Israel just withdraws in its entirety, they will stop firing.
Not an Israeli decision. It's an Iranian decision, and they can't have it both ways. They can't say the Israelis can't fight, but Hezbollah, we can direct them to fight. That's not going to work, and the Israelis rightly won't stand for that.
Except they could, though. They could impose that. They could. They straight up could. They could literally say Hezbollah is allowed to fight and Israel is not. Hezbollah is allowed to defend its country as long as Israel is inside of it. They could literally say that and enforce that, because Iran is the regional hegemon. There's nothing Israel can fucking do. Israel can't do anything against Iran. What is Israel going to do, especially without America? But even with America, we've seen that it is impossible to defeat Iran. So there's literally nothing Israel can do about it. If Iran wants to start peppering Israel with missiles, they can. And if America has to come in and save their ass or whatever, sure. But even then, America will then be using up all of its missiles and stockpiles, which it probably doesn't want to do either. Eventually, it runs out of those too. And then Israel's just fair game, and there's nothing Israel can fucking do about it. Except, I guess, nuke Iran. But come on. Even that wouldn't defeat Iran. So it's what? I don't know. It would just be a horrific war crime.
So are you saying that part of the agreement has to be present, that's got to be actually in a deal?
Well, I don't think the situation in Lebanon needs to be part of the agreement between the United States and Iran. This is an issue between Israel and Hezbollah, meaning it's between Israel and Iran. And so
Too bad. Iran's the one with all the cards, so it's a part of the deal. And I just read the text. It's a part of the deal. Sorry.
So that's something that needs to be negotiated separately. But if the Iranians don't want conflict in Lebanon, then they just have to tell Hezbollah to stop fighting. Right. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh. If they tell Hezbollah to stop fighting, Israel just starts doing war crimes harder. That's historically how it's always gone. The less you fight, the less you resist, the more Israel commits war crimes. That's historically how it's always gone.
I know it's simple, but they never do it. Real quickly, just on that point.
That's just propaganda.
So if there is a red line around the IRGC hitting Israel, what happens to this deal, do you think?
Well, I think we can be confident that the Israelis will take care of themselves, and they're going to act in their own national interest, and we should expect that they do.
What are they going to fucking do?
If the Iranians do strike into Israel, I think we can expect the Israelis to strike back. That doesn't.
With what missiles? With what missiles? With what targeting systems? With what refueling bombers? Or refueling airplanes? With what intel? With what I don't know, bombs, what are they going to do without America? They can't do shit. They can't do fucking shit. Okay. Israel would be on its fucking ass crying like a baby as Iran pummels them with missiles if America wasn't here to protect them. So that's ridiculous to think otherwise.
Doesn't necessarily mean the deal between the Iranians.
I'm done with this guy. I'm done. Sorry, people. I gotta get out. I can't take it. Okay, let's go ahead and speaking of Israel, this is a short one. Trump says Syria would do a better job of taking care of Hezbollah than Israel. So, you know, a little bit of rhetorical. I take all this with a grain of salt because I saw how Biden did this shit where they would claim to be upset with Israel, but then let Israel do whatever the fuck it wanted. So I take all this with a grain of salt of him being real mad about Israel, but let's go ahead and watch it.
I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah.
Israel does.
I can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better.
That's the biggest slap in the face to Israel, though. That is really funny. So Syria is currently led by like an Al-Qaeda member, if I remember correctly. But essentially the influence right now in Syria is, I think, Turkey. As far as I'm aware, I think Turkey is the one who currently, you know, Assad got pushed out. Assad was Russia-backed. And I think now the current Syrian, you know, government or whatever is Turkey-backed. And so, yeah, and so Israel also, like, Israel was thinking that, like, after they were done with Iran, they would start attacking Turkey or whatever, which is kind of hilarious as well. But it's kind of somewhat, I think, in response to that.
Better job of doing it. And I didn't like Syria. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It was right in, it wasn't like in the southern side, and you know, it was in Beirut. I did not like that. I let them know that. I didn't like it, not at all. But I think that Syria, you know, he's pulled that country together amazingly quickly. He's very capable, and he's been very good.
The
for
Al-Qaeda
me.
guy.
Everything that I've asked for, he's done. And if Israel can't do the job without killing everyone else, he'll do the job. Syria will do the job. Without us, without the United States, there would be no Israel.
That's true.
Without
That's
me,
true.
there would be no Israel. Because no.
At least there wouldn't be the modern iteration of Israel without the United States. Israel could theoretically exist as a, you know, normal country that behaves like a normal fucking country with, you know, borders. Oh, crazy concept with borders that aren't constantly expanding, and without a, you know, apartheid system where all of the Muslims, all of the Palestinians are thrown inside of a giant open air prison that Israel gets to routinely bomb constantly. And that all the people in the West Bank are constantly having pogroms by, you know, freakish Jewish settler ghouls coming in with like machine guns, trying to, you know, just saying this house is mine now or whatever. Yeah, if Israel stopped behaving like that, then yes, they could exist. They could exist in the Middle East as a normal fucking country. But the way that Israel exists right now is entirely dependent on America. If America cut off its funding, America wouldn't be, or I mean, Israel wouldn't be able to support its campaign against Lebanon. It wouldn't be able to support its occupation of Syria. It wouldn't be able to support its apartheid in the West Bank. It wouldn't be able to even do its constant bombing runs against Gaza. Israel is so heavily dependent on America to be able to maintain, you know, what it's allowed to do.
No other president was willing to do what I did. I've had a great relationship with Bibi, but now Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon. Lebanon used to be a great country. It was a country where you had professors, doctors, lawyers. The great intellect was in Lebanon. Now it's terrible. I would say of all countries, they've been treated the worst. And they can't defend themselves. And they have Hezbollah, which is a problem for them.
It's a problem.
So now I'm not happy with the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. They should have been.
Okay, so there's that. There's Donald Trump, saying that Syria maybe will give the invasion of Lebanon to Syria. We'll give its occupation to Syria if you don't cut it out, Israel. Anyway, President, this is another thing. So this is recent from today at like a few hours ago. President Trump opened to nuclear enrichment for Iran. It's a little hard when other people have it, other adjoining states have it, and you're not letting them have it for purpose of electricity and things like that. You have to use a little common sense.
You know, it is a little hard, though, when you say that somebody wants it, other people have it, other adjoining states have it, and you're not letting them have it for purposes of electricity and things like that. It's always a little tough. You have to use a little common sense, please.
See, he's starting to do the walk back where, yes, Iran is going to maintain some level of nuclear sovereignty. That's just a short little one. And then here we go. We got Mike Huckabee. Israel first, Mike Huckabee. This is probably potentially the most Israel first politician, maybe. But let's see. Trump's ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, defies Trump. Without Israel, there would not be an America. We owe our very existence to what happened in this land. Let's see what he has to say.
It's also my job to represent the importance of Israel to the United States. This is just another reminder.
I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're the American ambassador to Israel, doesn't that mean like your primary job is towards America and you're doing these relationships on behalf of America? And isn't it supposed to be for America? I think you got it a little backwards. You're not the Israeli ambassador to America. You're the American ambassador to Israel.
To the United States. This is just another reminder that it is your heritage without a doubt. But Minister, it is also the heritage of the United States. Without Israel, without the Jewish Foundation, there would not be an America.
That's the biggest fucking insult to Americans I've ever heard. Look, I mean, you can say what you want about America. I'm not a big fan of America in its current iteration, but there are certain aspects that I think were good. I think the American Revolution was good. Throwing off the yoke of monarchy. Sure. That's a good thing. I like that. But saying that America couldn't exist because if the Jews hadn't created Western values or something is a ridiculous, somewhat I feel philo-Semitic idea. That's a little bit crazy to me.
We owe our very existence to what happened in this.
These people are fucking, they're weird, man. They're really weird. Zionism, I always say, it's a brain disease. It kills your brain cells. Okay, and then we got we're just going to do one article about this today because I got to move on. It's already been an hour of me covering this, which it always feels like it turns into. I'm I think this time it'll be faster, and it never is. So, but whatever. It is what it is. Okay, so let's read this from Jerusalem Post, which I equate to the New York the New York Post of Israel personally. Maybe more like the Washington Post. Maybe, I don't know. No, probably more like the New York Post. Anyway, how Israel made Trump's Iran betrayal inevitable. Comment: Trump pulled the plug on Iran because Israel spent years manicuring the lawn it only knows how to mow. I don't know what's going to be in this, but I'm just curious what this is going to say. I think we can get some good commentary out of it. Finish the job. That's the phrase heard over and over since October 7th. When you dissect what it truly entails, it would involve getting rid of Hamas and the conditions that created it and keep it thriving. Zooming out, it would involve doing the same about Hezbollah, the Houthis, and of course the Iranian regime behind all of them. You can't do that, though, with your methodologies, clearly. Getting rid of Hamas would require you to get rid of the ideology that creates Hamas, which is only because of the occupation. You would have to remove the occupation and let Palestinians live freely, or else there's always going to be a Hamas. Same with Hezbollah. They could change names or whatever, and the Houthis. All of these were born out of resistance to your aggression. If you not behave the way that you do, then those resistance organizations would not exist in the way that they do. Asking how Israel has ended up where it is now, hands seemingly shackled, unable to continue what may be seen as defensive actions, leaves a simple question. Were the wars that raged since October 7th, 2023 actually defensive? Good question to start asking yourself, Jerusalem Post. Whoa, is this gonna be an about face? I have a feeling no, but who knows? They certainly had defensive features. The pager operation in Lebanon was certainly defensive. It was a war crime for sure. Ungodly amounts of civilians were killed in that operation. Striking nuclear facilities in Iran was too. So hold on to that question. I'll come back to it. When I first worked at the Jerusalem Post, I would regularly work the night shift on the breaking news desk on Friday nights. Week after week in 2019, I wrote the same article. Red alert sirens sounded in Gaza border communities. The Iron Dome intercepted X projectiles. X landed in an open area. MDA reports X in critical condition. X killed. It went on. And the reason it went on so long, the same reason Israel built an enormous reinforced fence around Gaza, has a name. The term coined to describe it is mowing the grass, aka going in and, killing Palestinians whenever you feel like it, basically. Using excuses, right? They would use an excuse like, oh, a missile was lobbed from Gaza to then go in and do overt war crimes. It's no different than October 7th, except in scale. October 7th was the biggest version of this. But it's no different than what happened after October 7th. Mowing the lawn is just October 7th, or like the October 8th onward genocide of Gaza, but just on a smaller scale and over a longer period of time. Like every once in a while going in and killing a few thousand here or there, that kind of stuff. The predictability was not the policy failing. The predictability was the policy. The deaths were in the template too, and they still read as routine. That is what a doctrine of management produces. You cut the threat back to manageable height and you wait for it to grow again. Basically, no other country does this. Yeah, no shit. Exactly. No other fucking country does this, which is why Israel is unique. That's why we focus on it so much, because it's uniquely barbaric. It's uniquely evil. Basically, no other country does this. It is enormously expensive and truly a little crazy. Say what you want about Donald Trump, and there's plenty to say, but even he, the closest thing Israel has to a friend in the world. Oh. I'm not going to feel sorry for a Nazi state, sorry, but that's the saddest sentence I've ever heard. The closest thing that Israel has to a friend in the world. Anyway. Looked at an endless economy cratering war and had no stomach for it. That was not weakness per se. That was the one ally Israel actually leans on, pricing a doctrine the rest of the world would find insane. Because Israel only ever worked on half of the problem. Pre-October 7th, there were no deep plans to engage countries diplomatically and drain the extremism from Palestinian society. Diplomacy, you learned a new word. Wow. No deep plans to work on resolving the terrorism emanating from the West Bank. Again, remove the occupation. Let people live in dignity. That's how you get rid of it. The deeper you look, the more surface level every Israeli strategy has been for decades. Bandages on wounds, but never medication for the oozing infection underneath. This person would win me over so hard if like the next sentence was, and that infection is Zionism. If they went with that, I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to talk about how they need to, go after Iran now or whatever. But who knows? We'll see. Or diplomacy. They did mention diplomacy. I don't know. Take Iran. If Israel truly wanted to be rid of the head of the snake, it was never going to do it the way it deals with Gaza. It did try, though. That was what this whole thing was. It was an attempt to turn Iran into a Gaza-type situation that they could just mow the grass mow the lawn every, few years or whatever. You do not set a nuclear program back with a few strikes and wait for it to grow back. It needs strategy, real diplomatic strategy. And the way to do it properly was sitting right there. The Iranian regime has spent decades making enemies, terrorism in one country, drug trafficking in another, proxies and gangs funded in places most people would never trace back to Tehran. Have you looked at what America does, though? Anyway, whatever. All of them, for their own reasons, would have wanted this finished. That is a coalition. And had Israel been engaged in real diplomacy rather than the pseudo version it has run for years, it could have built that coalition and wielded it. It's impossible. It's impossible under fascist ideology to be able to, for the power of the state to be not used as a constant weapon, of agitation against the other, right? That is like the inherent nature of fascism, and therefore is the inherent nature of Zionism. There is no way to fix this problem. Israel is not going to get like less brutal. It's not going to get like less barbaric after this like big fat L it has to take. It's going to get worse. It's going to continue down that ideology to its logical conclusion unless it is stopped. And that logical conclusion, by the way, looks a lot like the end of World War II. Okay, people, that needs to be set out right out in the open. That is what the end of Israel's ideology leads to if they are not stopped. And they will become more brutal after this, not less brutal. They're just going to start going after weaker opponents, I think. Just continued on Gaza, continued on Lebanon, continuing on Syria. But they're going to stop with this Iran shit, I think, for the most part, is what I'm kind of expecting. But a coalition like that needs something Israel has never wanted to do. You would have to go to countries it treats as permanent enemies, often for nothing more than their objection to policies, and ask them in. Israel does not do this. It doesn't. It keeps most of the world at arm's length. You cannot build an alliance from there. Yeah, it's hard to build an alliance when you're the fucking Nazi. I mean, I guess Nazi Germany had a couple friends. You could probably find a couple people, but still, yeah. Their xenophobia just gets in the way of good strategy all the time. And that's not abnormal under racist ideologies. And building it also got in the way of our war in Iran. We orientalized Iran to a great extent, and that's why we underestimated them and ended up losing to some extent, or at least that's part of it. And building it is diplomatic work, the work Israel had spent years starving itself of the ability to do. In those same years, its foreign ministry was reportedly so short of money it could not afford pens. The military instrument was fed for decades. The diplomatic one could not buy stationery. Why? Ask yourself why. Why is this happening? So Israel did the thing it knows how to do. It struck the facilities, set the program back, and left hanging the question of when it would all have to happen again. The biggest war it could fight, fought as another lawn to mow. You could argue that is all the Israeli military knows how to do anymore. That's all any occupation knows how to do. Cut the grass often enough and you forget you're not meant to be a gardener. Netanyahu will point to the Abraham Accords, but look at who signed them. States that already crush extremism inside their own borders. They were the willing. The Accords did nothing about the unwilling, and they were never pointed at Gaza or the West Bank, where they might have done some good. Yeah, because, God, okay, whatever. Those same countries could have been the guarantors and the founders of a reshaped Palestinian reality. Concessions traded for real verified change. The objection is always the same. Israel cannot give concessions without a guarantee of security. True, but no one has ever tried to build the structure which would produce that guarantee. And because it's an impossible way to live. You can't have a country that is like the only way that it can exist is if every one of its neighbors completely disarms and you have total impunity to do whatever the fuck you want to them, right? That's not how Canada exists. That's not how Mexico exists. If we made Canada and Mexico disarm in its entirety and just constantly bomb them all the fucking time, like, yeah, no shit, that would be unpopular. No shit, that would breed resistance. Like, whatever. Okay. And not all of what feeds this is Israel's to fix or Israel's fault. Pay for slay is the Palestinian authorities. My God, they're still going after the Palestinian Authority, which is like literally straight up like an Israeli operation. Like it is an arm of the Israeli state. Anyway. The incitement is not written in Jerusalem. The Qatari money came in with everyone watching year after year alongside the weapons that kept reaching Gaza and the West Bank that keeps producing its lone wolves, often out of nothing more than the absence of anything to lose. Plenty of actors keep all of this running. The point is that none of it, not the parts Israel owns and not the parts it does not, was ever the target of a real strategy with real partners. Did Netanyahu invent the doctrine? No. Mowing the grass predates him. The belief that there is no partner began to solidify across governments long before his longest tenure began. Yeah, there used to be people in Israel who thought that there could be peace, that thought that one day there could be peace. They're all fucking gone because Zionism is an inherently fascist ideology that's going to get more and more fascist as time goes on, obviously. But he is its longest serving steward and the one handed the most political capital after the worst day in the country's history to finally break the cycle. He chose the bigger lawn. He did not build a trap, but he starved every way out of it until force was the only tool left in the drawer. And when force is all you have built, of course, the answer to every crisis is more of it. There's no partner, he said, for years, but you do not get a partner by waiting for one to appear. You build the conditions that produce one. That's true. That's true. That is true. You need to build the conditions for peace by allowing Palestinians sovereignty and allowing them dignity. The absence he kept describing was not something he found. It was something he kept. So when we hear "finish the job" chanted loudest by the people who most want it finished, it is worth asking what was ever built to finish it with. Israel has a more competent foreign ministry now. It can buy its pens, but the rest is much the same. Building the coalition that could actually end this would mean going to the countries it treats as enemies and admitting it needs them. That takes humility. It takes wanting to solve the thing rather than manage it for another decade. After 3 painful years, that is what has to be admitted. Not that Israel must defend itself. It must, but that defending itself for good was never only a military job, and the part that is not, the leader still has little interest in doing. Yeah, and it's not going to get any better, dude. I'm sorry to say. Until you fix the underlying problem, aka letting Palestinians live with freedom and sovereignty, you're never gonna have a solution to this problem. But okay, that's it for Iran. I'm done. That was way too long. I wasn't expecting it to go that long, but there it is. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's start with some electoralism. We're going to talk about some of the primaries from last night. Let's go ahead and go into Steve Kornacki. He's going to break down some of the GOP primary results. I like to always preface all of these things. I'm trying to get better at keeping track of local politics, or not local politics, like national politics in terms of like electoral politics, like knowing more candidates and all that stuff around the country. But I'm not an expert on any of this, so I might not have a ton of insight when it comes to who these politicians are or what they stand for, generally speaking.
We're back now, and polls have just closed in a critical runoff election in Georgia. 2 Republicans battling it out for their party's nomination to try to flip a Senate seat red in November. And if it's election night, Steve Kornacki is at the big board. So, Steve, Congressman Mike Collins has the endorsement of President Trump. He's up against a former football coach, Derek Dooley. One of them will go head-to-head with Democrat Jon Ossoff in the general election. What are we seeing so far?
Yeah, look, it's close so far here between Collins and Dooley. You see about 20% of the vote is counted. The key right now, Tom, is what you're looking at generally in these results. It is early vote that was cast, days ahead of time before Election Day. What's going to start to fill in all these places where you see different colors right now, what's going to start to fill in is the vote that was cast today in person. And that's going to be the test of this Trump endorsement, because what we've seen in these Republican primaries is that Election Day vote in Republican primaries, that tends to be the most pro-Trump, the most pro-MAGA vote. So if right now, this is an extremely competitive race in what we're seeing with the early vote. If that Election Day vote, which tends to be more pro-Trump, responds to Trump's call to Republicans to get behind Collins, he should be able to pull away here. But that's an open question right now, because we're not really seeing any of that Election Day vote yet. Right now, what we're looking at is a very competitive race.
All right. And then before you go, there's a heated Senate battle for the GOP in Alabama. What are you going to be watching for there?
Yeah, well, in Alabama, the polls will be closing in less than an hour.
I mean, if I had to guess just on historical precedent, Trump's endorsement is going to end up winning it for Collins. But, we'll see.
Another test of the Trump endorsement, Trump endorsing Congressman Barry Moore. Barry Moore finished first in the preliminary. This is a runoff. Jared Hudson had finished second. He's sort of a conservative, grassroots sort of insurgent figure here. He finished a distant second to Moore in the preliminary. There's some pretty clear geographical contours here. Moore's congressional district is based in the sort of Mobile, South Alabama area. Expect him to run up the score here. Hudson did really well around Birmingham, population center in the middle part of the state. I think the area that's going to decide this is North Alabama and Huntsville, which is one of the fastest growing cities in the country and has become the biggest city in Alabama. I think that might be the region that decides this thing tonight.
And a place where NBC is #1. We love Huntsville. All right, Steve Kornacki, we thank you for that. Yeah. We know you'll be at
the khaki man himself. Okay, so those were the GOP ones.
Begins after a long primary.
Let's see. So DC, I know, also had an election. So let's see what's going on over there.
Begins after a long primary election night in DC. Hours-long delays at the polls push results deep into the night. Results are now starting to stream in after voters help decide some key races that could shape the future of city leadership. It is good to be with you this morning. I'm Simone D'Alba.
And I'm Wisdom Martin. Polls were scheduled to close at 8 p.m., but the last voting sites didn't officially close until just before 10:45 after everyone in line cast their ballots. Now, those delays meant many voters went to bed before results started coming in.
And with ranked choice voting being used for the first time in D.C., the wait for official results could take a little while, but we do have team coverage.
Loopy alert.
Used for the first time in D.C., the wait for official results could take a little while.
Weeb, get him out of there. Can't trust him.
But we do have team coverage for you this morning with everything you need to know.
Jacqueline Quinn is live outside the D.C. Board of Elections, where vote counting will resume in just a few hours.
Can you use the term weeb? Sorry, this is completely unrelated. Can you use the term weeb for black people? Because I thought, is weeaboo, is that specifically for white people, or is it just any American can be considered a weeb? I can't remember.
But we begin with Jess Arnold, who has been tracking the numbers overnight. Jess.
Yeah, well, let's start with the mayoral race. Obviously, that is the biggest talker. D.C. having the first new mayor it's had in over a decade here. Right now, we're seeing Janice Lewis-George with a sizable lead over the other frontrunner, Kenyon McDuffie. Of course, these are just interim results, and you can see how this is stacking.
It's 64% reporting, but I don't know which localities are in. And I also don't know how they vote in DC I guess, is DC just one district? I guess it is just one district. So maybe there's not there's not different regions or areas or anything. In that case, then I would probably guess that Janice Lewis-George here is probably going to win for mayor. And I think that she's another DSA candidate. I think I have an article later that goes into that, I think.
And you can see how this is stacking up with the other challengers here. I want to take us to the U.S. delegate to Congress, the Democratic nominee, of course. This has been called by the AP for Robert White because of this sizable lead here over the other frontrunner, Brooke Pinto. So again, that one's been called. It appears he will be the Democratic nominee. And then I want to zero in here on Ward 1 because this one, no one has over 50%.
Okay, there are different wards, it seems like, I guess, in there. So it is segmented, but the mayor obviously is for the entire district.
Of the share. This one could go to ranked choice voting. Now, Aparna Raj has been described as probably the front runner in this, but it's really interesting to point out here, Ward 1, this is also the first time they will have a new council member since the same time that Mayor Bowser was elected in the last 12 years. So this is going to be a big change for this ward as well. It represents a large portion of the Latino community here in the district. So if either Miguel Duramo here wins or if Jackie Reyes-Llanes ends up winning here, which it doesn't appear, we'll see again with ranked choice voting, then they would be the first Latino council member representing such a large section and population here in D.C. I also want to point out that current council member Brianne Nadeau actually endorsed Rashida Brown. So we'll see how that endorsement plays out once we start to see more of these votes come in, because again, 64% of the votes have been counted so far. So we'll have to see if that goes to ranked choice. And then real quick here, I want to go over two races that have been called as well. Ward 5 council member Zachary Parker re-elected here for the second time, according to AP News, because of that sizable lead. And then over here in Ward 6, council member Charles Allen, again, re-elected, or, here as the Democratic nominee. In D.C., of course, the Democratic nominee often goes on to get elected in the general election here. But those are some of the races that have been called. There are other ones, too, that, of course, we're going to break down for you throughout.
Yeah, and DC, I guess, doesn't have an actual, representative in Congress or a Senate. But the mayor one is the one that I'm the most interested in talking about. Let's see, where was it? Janice Lewis-George. So, like I said, I think she's a DSA person, and it seems like I really like personally when DSA members get elected into mayoral or actual governing positions, like governor or, places where you're actually doing the work, because I think that that's where they really shine in terms of being able to affect change, and showing people that government can work for them, as opposed to representative, where you get elected to Congress and you get elected to the House of Representatives or the Senate. Because there it's a lot harder to show that you're actually accomplishing stuff. And it's really easy for people to say well, what did they do for me, right? Because all you're doing is voting on stuff. And we have so many veto points in Congress that it makes it, it makes it a lot harder to affect change in a positive direction. That doesn't mean that we don't need them. We need everybody in the Democratic Party to be aligned with, aligned with the DSA positions in order to get positive change in the country as a whole. But I think starting like getting a lot more mayors and governors with DSA backing is a great first step for people to see what it looks like to have a representative that is actually trying to make their lives better, as opposed to just trying to enrich as, the smallest circle of pedophiles they can possibly find. Okay, let's go ahead and read this quick article. I don't think it's the longest. It's 2 major sections, but this is from Time Magazine, which I don't really read Time Magazine that often, to be honest. I know they're a publication, like a big institution, I would say. But yeah, let's go ahead and read this article. Democratic Socialist leads in DC mayor race, furthering breakout year for left. This is by Philip Wang. Democratic Socialists are flexing their growing political strength in the nation's capital, with Janice Lewis-George leading in vote counting in Tuesday's Democratic primary to be Washington, D.C.'s next mayor. If the results hold, she will be all but certain to replace Mayor Muriel Bowser as the city's leader in January. It is the latest sign of the influential Democratic Socialists of America expanding its reach in the wake of last year's election of Zohran Mamdani as mayor of New York City. Go Zohran, man. I'm telling you. It is incredible to have a person that you can just point to and be like, that's how we want to govern. That's how we want to govern. Like, Zohran is succeeding in a way that nobody even really thought possible, because it's unique, right? He's a Democratic Socialist, obviously. So he has the goals that align with my goals. However, he is also just uniquely talented and charismatic, which is the craziest combination. Usually people who align with me aren't quite as charismatic, or at least, I'm sure there's plenty of politicians that do, but like for just the average DSA member aren't always the most charismatic. Sorry, DSA members. I'm sorry. Anyway. Across the country, there are signs that more candidates are identified as Democratic Socialists or aligning themselves with the DSA's platform as the far-left organization's membership grows. Earlier this month in Los Angeles, Nithya Raman, a city council member and DSA member, advanced to LA's mayoral runoff, another mayor situation, against incumbent Karen Bass. A Raman victory in November could mean DSA members are running the 2 largest U.S. cities and the nation's capital by next year, with another progressive, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, running the 3rd largest city. This is how it starts, people. To every city, unto every city, we will designate one DSA member, and you can take it or leave it. You can look at what they're doing in the other cities and be like, I want that, or you cannot. It's up to you. I'm just saying, you're probably going to want it. The mayoral race in Washington had largely come down to Lewis George, a DC council member, and Kenyon McDuffie, a former at-large council member who ran as a more business-friendly Democrat. Lewis George's campaign platform included instituting universal affordable childcare, strengthening tenants' rights, awesome. Halting gas and electricity rate hikes, awesome. Cori Bush is also advocating for that as well. And making buses free for DC SNAP recipients. Kind of Jack and Zoran style, but I'll take it. The key thing is just go out to the people and ask them what they want, and then tell them that you're going to deliver that. That is the key thing that you should be doing. And so awesome. Great platform. The main DSA chapter in Washington, D.C. mobilized more than 300 members to canvass for Lewis George, according to chapter chair Curtis Hagans, who says Mamdani's rise has helped their members connect with voters. We have had folks on the doors who see us wearing Democratic Socialist gear, like hats or shirts, and they'll say, oh, DSA, like Zohran. He says, this is what's so awesome about this, is that nobody, in America at least, nobody knows what socialism is. I mean, they've been propagandized against it, obviously. But like, so when most people see like Zohran govern and they see that he is aligned with Democratic Socialists, they aren't even thinking in terms of socialism. They are thinking that person is because let's be honest, his policy isn't about seizing the means of production and shit. His policy is about governing effectively and creating, effective like like material uplifting of the working class. And people look at him and say, I like that. Maybe I'm a democratic socialist. They don't get into the nitty gritty of like, you know, the difference between social democrat and democratic socialist. And to be honest, we shouldn't get in there either. Let them just think what they want to think about it. Show them that you can effectively govern and let them just come to you. I think that's a great strategy. Now, we shouldn't ever take our eyes off the prize, though, of what we are trying to accomplish as socialists. Or at least, as I say, I'm anti-capitalist. I don't consider myself socialist, communist, whatever. I'm an anti-capitalist. So that is my but in general, whatever means of organizing the economy, it's not really super important to me personally. As long as it's not capitalism. As long as we move beyond capitalism. Anyway, Democrats far outnumber Republicans in the nation's capital, meaning the winner of the Democratic primary is expected to easily be elected mayor in November. A Louis George victory would likely exacerbate Washington's relationship with President Donald Trump, who has expressed alarm over her popularity. Last week, he threatened to invoke the Home Rule Act, allowing the federal government to take over management of District of Columbia should she become mayor. Jesus Christ. If they do that blatantly anti-democratic, like seizing the state, here's what would be so funny. If they seize the state and they ran it like they're currently running the country, people would like fucking riot. Like they're so terrible at governing. Like, and the people obviously wanted Louis George, at least so far, according to the current election results. So that it would be kind of funny, but it would also be sad because they're taking away, the democratic representation, the little amount of it that DC gets. I wouldn't like it, and maybe we'll take back Washington and run it on the federal basis, Trump said last week. We won't put up with it. We're not going to lose our business. Look at New York. How's New York doing? New York's doing great. It's the best. It seems like it has the best vibes. Everybody's having a great time over there with Zoran. I have a feeling it's going to be the same here. The DSA's expanding influence is evident in its growing membership, which counted only about 5,000 members as recently as 2016, according to Megan Romer, national co-chair of the DSA. The organization has seen a significant bump in membership since the second Trump administration, as well as Mamdani's victory, she says, rising from around 70,000 in 2025 to more than 100,000 now. That's what I like to call a coalition. Yeah, keep it going. Get them numbers up. Get more numbers on the board. Romer said the new members are largely young and urban, often living in places where Democratic Socialists already hold office. I think that they are really excited to see a bright spot of hope and a spot where they can actually have some control over what happened next, Romer says, because in a world where it feels like so many things have almost kind of been decided for you by generations ahead of you, this is the place to see it. The growing influence of the DSA's brand is forcing a power struggle with establishment Democrats as prominent Democratic socialists like Representative AOC of New York to push the party further left through endorsements in Democratic primaries. Last week, Mamdani announced endorsements in 3 New York congressional races in an effort to challenge Democratic incumbents or Democrats backed by more moderate incumbent lawmakers. 2 of his picks are DSA members, including Daria Liza Avila Chevalier. I forgot how to say her last name. Chevalier. It sounds French, so who is aiming to unseat Representative Adriano Espaillat, chair of the I've seen them on debates, by the way. This dude sucks. He likes ICE. It feels like it's like he's refusing to say abolish ICE in the year of our Lord 2026. Chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, which is crazy. The chair of the Hispanic Caucus. Whatever. Anyway, I would have to double check that. I'd have to go watch the video again, but I'm pretty sure he never said they wanted to abolish ICE. When he was asked point blank if he wanted to. Axios report that the DSA challengers' rise has prompted a pro-Espaillat PAC to spend at least $2.5 million ahead of the primary later this month. Yeah, you're starting to see the money come out from the Democratic Party against these insurgents because they're scared. And they're getting real scared, I think. Modern Socialist Campaign. One of the DSA's enduring challenges is how to handle politicians who champion the organization's policies but distance themselves from identifying as Democratic Socialists. Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner, who claimed to be a DSA member on Reddit in 2018, later said that he is not a socialist and identifies himself as a New Deal Democrat, which is a little bit concerning. Another thing to be concerned in the litany of things to be concerned about Graham Plattner. But whatever. I still think he's better than Collins. So Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, who is a part of the progressive squad in Congress that includes AOC, has never identified herself as a socialist and never sought endorsement from her local DSA chapter, but is oftentimes aligned with policies promoted by the organization. She's DSA like adjacent. We're glad to see our ideas being taken up, though at the same time, we think it's really important that we make decisions about policy and about the direction we're heading collectively, Romer says, while adding that endorsed candidates will receive more resources such as canvassing volunteers and more political donations from members. It took the DSA several years to home in on the electoral strategies that work for them, Romer said. During previous election cycles, local DSA chapters endorsed a slate of progressive candidates who weren't associated with the organization due to its lack of resources and people. As the team continues to grow, the DSA is now pushing for organizers and volunteers within their local chapters like Zohra Mamdani to run for public offices. Before her mayoral campaign, the DSA previously helped Louis George win her seat at the state council in 2020 and her re-election campaign in 2024. Yeah, and if you keep providing for the DSA, if you keep providing the policies that the DSA wants, they'll keep supporting you through thick and thin. Those people, they understand what it is to be part of this collective movement. They're not a pretty face in a list of policies. They're really a part of this group decision-making process, Romer says. And this is the thing. There are two ways you can go in modern society if you want to be in a part of a collective. You can become a part of, like, fascist, neo-Nazi Groyper Discord groups or whatever, which is like the current trajectory that the Republican Party is moving towards, like the Nick Fuentes style people, which collectively are just coming together in order to institute American fascism. Or you can join the DSA, who wants true collective power, owned by the people, operated by the people, and not by corporations and billionaires. Those are the two options if you want, collective, an actual collective group of people and a collective thing to fight for. Currently, those are, I think, the only two options. The current idea of liberal centrist Democrats are not a collective. They are not an organization that is meant to actually implement the better change for the working class. And so there's no real vector of hope there. And that's what people are starting to realize. So you have two paths to go down. I hope people choose the right one. Still, most Democratic socialists running for office are still doing so as Democrats instead of a candidate of a separate socialist party. The DSA doesn't have a formal relationship with the Democratic Party leadership. DSA officials acknowledge that using a Democrat's ballot line is a pragmatic choice, one that somewhat undercuts an electoral strategy that emphasizes working outside of the established party machine. I don't care one way or the other. Personally, take over the Democratic Party or move or work outside of it, or start with one and move towards the other. I don't really care, as long as the material conditions of the working class are improving, and our people are getting elected and doing that. I don't really care. Clearly, the terrain is not right for a socialist running in a socialist party. There is no socialist party that has any strength or membership to speak of. If only we had a parliamentary system, man, then we could have a actual socialist party. That'd be great. Said Michael Kazin, a history professor at Georgetown University who has studied the socialist movement in America. Kazin also pointed out that the modern socialist movement in America, as reflected in the DSA membership, is gravitating towards people with a college education. The socialist movement in the early 20th century was a working class movement, by and large, Kazin added. Now, working class people have been moving away from the Democratic Party and moving away from the left in recent decades. So that's the difference from earlier, too. Those people have been lured in by Republicans, but Republicans they don't actually stand for those people. And people, I think, are starting to realize that. Even like right wingers and Republicans, if they are an actual working class individual who is struggling, having material day-to-day struggles, they are going to see people like socialists, like DSA members and stuff who are working and actually trying to implement policies to help working class individuals. They are going to like that and move towards them. So you know, we're going to have to change this. We do need to change this. But a part of that is just doing the work. And I think it'll work. Looking forward, the DSA has endorsed candidates in several down-ballot races in Utah, Florida, Georgia, and Texas, and plans to endorse in more races ahead of November. But in Romer's view, the DSA's path to more political power comes as much from growing its membership as it does fielding more candidates. We need more elected officials, but we also need people who are ready to knock those doors, stand in line for public comment, organize ballot measures, and organize around bills that we want passed, she adds. It's all connected, and it all matters. It is all connected, and it does all matter. And, you know, more power to them. I love the DSA, man. I love it. Go join your local DSA chapter, or if it doesn't exist, go start one. That's my personal opinion. Okay, we got to move on from electoralism and try to get to some fun stuff, or like less, I guess, like less serious stuff, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. Let me put this up here. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about oh no. We're going to talk about Algae-Gate. Algae-Gate, everybody. Yeah, so Trump has been on a tear lately, beautifying everything. He's taking everything he can possibly find, and he is making it more beautiful. And one of those things that he decided to make more beautiful was the reflecting pool in front of the National Mall. And so what he decided to do was he decided, well, here's an idea. Why don't we just paint the bottom of it? We'll just paint it blue, and then it'll look blue. It'll be beautiful. It'll be like a nice, big, beautiful pool. And so that is what he did. And then a lot of people at the time said, that's stupid. The algae's going to grow back. It's like, there's, you know, I've heard that there's like problems with the pipes that make the filtration, you know, just not work, generally speaking, or not work very well. So it's basically just standing water, which is inevitably going to grow algae. And lo and behold, as you can evidence, that is, as can be evidenced by what you are currently looking at on screen. And no, that is not Mountain Dew. Although that'd be kind of rad and very America to do. But that's algae. Don't go drinking it, people. That's algae. So let's go ahead and watch this CNN video from Anderson Cooper.
President Trump's freshly renovated reflecting pool,
it will look far more beautiful,
has been hit with a problem that has dogged administrations for decades.
It's called American flag blue.
The problem? Algae. In just 1 week, this blue pool has grown into an increasingly murky shade of green, the very color and muck the president has repeatedly railed.
And the one thing I will say right off the bat is China would never, right? China would never. This would never happen in China, okay? China cares too much about their, like, you know, how they look. They're very like appearance like focused and outward appearance focused. They really like to do things that look good when projected out to the rest of the world. So China would literally never let this happen. And it's one of many things that make me go, man, if only, if only we had Xi Jinping in charge, he would have done this right. We would have had a perfectly blue, perfect reflecting pool. But unfortunately, that's not what we got. We got our big, beautiful boy, a DJT.
Against.
The water's disgusting looking. It's not representative of the country.
The administration is now dispatching crews to vacuum up the clumps of algae and dumping gallons upon gallons of hydrogen peroxide in the pool to try to fix.
This is crazy. I can't believe they're doing it by hand. You know, I figured they would just like take like a truck full of it or something and like dump it in. But like it literally looks like they went to like Home Depot or something and bought a bunch of like hydrogen peroxide to put in. I've also heard that hydrogen peroxide isn't great for the environment. It might like seep out and affect the wildlife and stuff, which, you know, the poor wildlife. I'm sorry.
The hue. But algae experts say that's an uphill battle.
We're in Washington, D.C. in the summertime. This is a shallow pool with stagnant water, abundant sunlight.
Yeah, the real thing that you need to do, well, there's one of two things. you need to get the filtration system fucking working, right? And alternatively, like chlorinate it or something, which would be terrible again for the environment. However, but like it would probably look good if you did that. But you need to get the filtration system working first and foremost, which would require like an intensive repair. They would have to drain it all again. They would have to like take off the ground, and they would have to go in there and like replace all the pipes and all that stuff. And I don't trust whatever, like friend of his son or whoever he got to do this to actually do it in a competent manner.
That it creates a situation where opportunistic algae can really take advantage of the situation.
The renovations, which started in April and finished last week, cost more than $14 million, a far cry from the $1.8 million first expected, and included at least one no-bid contract. There were a series of functional fixes, including repairing leaks and installing a filtration system for the first time to help clean the water.
And we're going to scoop up a water sample to see if we can get this tested.
Oh. I can actually stay a little bit longer. I was looking through my texts. I had a DSA event, but it got canceled. That's right. DSA. They weren't able to organize this event. This event of 10 people, but you know what? I still love them.
CNN independently took the sample of water and consulted with a pool store.
See, that's what I'm telling you. It's not Mountain Dew, people. American hogs. Don't get it twisted, okay? It's not a pool full of Mountain Dew. It is just algae, okay?
Regularly test water to help read the results. It showed phosphate levels far higher.
But I'm telling you, that would be the ultimate win, though, is if Donald Trump just replaced it all with Mountain Dew. It would be so idiocracy, which we're going to get into more of that later with UFC 250.
Than what is recommended to keep algae at bay based on estimates for a pool that holds 6.5 million gallons.
We are straight up like days away from like pouring like Gatorade in here to stop the algae growth.
Of water.
If there's already some phosphate fertilizer in the water, that's really opportunistic, especially for the blue-green algae that can fix nitrogen. So they are having a field day out here, probably.
The Department of Interior says they believe some of the initial problem was residual algae that had accumulated in pipes, and insists the filtration system called the ozone nanobubbler is working. Due to deploying the advanced nanobubbler technology, the algae is dead and being vacuumed up as we speak. A Department of Interior spokesperson told CNN the nanobubbler technology has successfully destroyed the algae bloom that has plagued every pool reopening. The hydrogen peroxide, they say, is being used as a milder treatment for the algae.
It looks exactly the same to me.
At the reflecting pool today, mixed reactions to the latest look.
I know
I feel like it looks greener.
A lot of money went into this, but I can clearly see algae growing.
I look at it's getting cleaner, yes, in there, because obviously I wouldn't see if it was still, in not good shape, you wouldn't see a good reflection.
Selena Stravati is at the reflecting pool now. So is it safe to use hydrogen peroxide to treat the reflecting pool for, birds and animals?
By the way, if you were like an engineer, I think that it shouldn't have been like one continuous pool, right? Like, I think it would have been okay to create like dividers or something, like small. They could be small. They could be like hard to see too. You could make it out of a material that's relatively, see-through. But like, I do kind of feel like, or maybe they already have this. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but like, I feel like you should just create like a bunch of smaller pools that can like, be able to be filtrated better. I'm pretty sure you could make it almost unnoticeable.
Animals?
Yeah, we asked this, Anderson, of the Department of Interior, and they insist that they believe it is safe for animals and the environment, and they say that it's much less harsh than chlorine that would typically go into a swimming pool. They also say that hydrogen peroxide is occasionally used in natural swimming pools and some spas. But these experts that we spoke to today, they really said the intention of this hydrogen peroxide is to go in and oxify the water and really break up the cells of algae, which we saw the actual physical parts of the algae.
I don't trust this current administration to be really actually keeping an eye out for the environment. Personally, that's just my own personal opinion.
around in this pool today. It should be noted that this has been a decades-long problem. Back in 2012, after the Obama administration renovated the reflecting pool, very soon after the algae showed up, and notably experts say it's the success of this project is not going to be determined by right after refilling this project, but in the months and weeks ahead.
Yeah, just push it off. That's the classic Trump move. It'll be fixed at some point in the future. It'll fix itself. Let's see what some of the comments are. I know more about reflecting pools more than anybody. This is national news. TDS is real. That's me right now. Look, that's me. That's me. I mean, it's not national news. It's just funny. It's just funny. I thought comedy was legal. Is comedy legal? Apparently not. Apparently we're not allowed to have some fucking fun. Anyway, our pool is greener and bigger. Whoa, swamp monster. Okay, well, there you go. That's what the people are feeling about it. What else we got? Okay.
Headline, I had to comment.
Let's go ahead and watch this one too. I'm going to go over some hog reactions now. This is a rare female hog. Actually, they're not that rare. There's plenty of female hogs. And it has nothing to do with how she looks, okay? She's a very beautiful person. I'm calling her a hog because she is in the general, like, I think, conservative sphere. And they are all collectively called hogs. This is not me being mean, okay? Anyway, this says... Yes, the reflecting pool is green. No, nothing went wrong. They're literally just cleaning the pipes. Completely normal and all part of the plan. Trust the process. Don't be a panican. And don't fall for whatever liberal propaganda headline shows up about this tomorrow. So these are just straight up the talking points from the Trump administration. I hope you're getting fucking paid for this, girl. Please tell me you're getting paid for this.
And run and see for myself. So yes, the headline is true. The water is green. However, I do want to show you guys that this is actually part of the process there in the middle. You can see it back there. They're in the middle of cleaning out the pipes. So no, nothing went wrong. Don't fall for whatever liberal skew they try to pull on you. Don't be a panican. Just trust the process. It's going to look spotless again here.
Don't be a panican. That's just straight from Donald Trump's mouth. Anonymous says, oh God, shut the fuck up with the panic and talk. You sound like a fucking simpleton who has brain damage. You morons don't even realize how fucking cringe you are. Yeah, true. Okay. I mean, they don't understand how cringe they are, but it's fine. It's not illegal to be cringe, okay, people? It's not illegal to be cringe. I said that back in Woke 1, and I'll say it again. It is not illegal to be cringe, but it is, it does give me the, like, I do get to make fun of you for being cringe, okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anyway. Oh, this is from Juanita Broderick, originally from Grant Stinchfield, but apparently Juanita, a very ethnic name. I like it. It appears very evident that the reflection pool has been sabotaged. The left is evil. Okay. Grant Stinchfield, I don't appreciate being called evil, but okay. President Trump fixes the reflecting pool, and a week later it's green again. Loaded with algae. Sabotage. Vandalism? I believe it is. The left can't stand Trump. American greatness and his quest to make DC beautiful again. What a shame. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
Take a look at this.
Ah!
The reflecting pool's green.
Sorry for your ears.
It was supposed to be completely black. Yeah.
I mean, we just saw it like a week ago. It was like crystal clear blue, beautiful.
All that,
yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. There's algae in here again. I feel like it's sabotage.
That wouldn't.
It's like, it is so funny that they go straight to like sabotage as opposed to just like the Occam's razor solution of like, it's just growing algae, man. It's a shitty ass pool with shitty ass pipes. It's huge. They didn't do a good job designing it. Like, it needs a way to not be so big. like I said, put some dividers in there or something like that are individually filtered or whatever. But like, yeah, it's like the easiest solution is never the right solution in these people's minds. There's always some grand conspiracy of like leftists sneaking in and like putting some like algae blooms at the bottom of it just to like fuck with them.
Shocked me either.
Why is it like this? Because it's gooey at the other end, and we walk this whole thing. We're like, there's no way that something like this. And the very opposite side is the World War II memorial. Right. The water's fine. Why is this? So something happened here.
I mean, they had just literally fixed this.
Obama spent $32 million and it never held water. Trump spends 14 and they go crazy.
They're pumping something into this. I don't know if it's air.
Look, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really care if he does the beautification stuff. I really don't. I don't mind it that much. The only thing I would say is, from a messaging perspective, it doesn't really look good when you're spending all this fucking money, giving, especially if you're getting like shitty ass contracts from the friend of your brother or whatever, right? Like, or the friend of your kid. I don't know. Like, like if you're getting like a no bid contract and you're like clearly just funneling money into the pockets of your friends, yeah, it doesn't look good, and it's obviously not good for the country to do that portion of it. But if we allocate funds to like fix our infrastructure and make it look nice, that is perfectly fine. I would love that. In fact, I would love so much if we just stopped spending $1 trillion on our military and took it all. You could build Donald Trump's big fucking ballroom too. I don't care. Just build, like, do whatever the fuck you want. Just take all of that money and start spending it on infrastructure, and I will be happy. I don't give a shit. It's just funny. This is just a funny story. That's all. It's funny.
And what a shame. Because in the end, after all the work that was done, after as proud as I was of President Trump for finally getting this thing fixed, we're back to green. And again, is it nefarious? I tend to think so. You wouldn't have so much algae that you see in here. You would not have that.
Well, your big, beautiful president said that it wasn't sabotage. He said this is perfectly normal. So which is it, buddy? Are you going against the Don?
Quickly, unless somebody did something, I'm telling you, I think they want Trump to fail so badly. They'll come out here and do anything.
I agree with you. It's crazy. Although I think he'll get it fixed.
So the good news is, it's not leaking. That is true. And as the man said, if anybody can get it fixed, Trump can. I'm trying to get it right for these Freedom 250
So I'm going to go for another like
15. What a shame. What a freaking shame.
Well, there you go, people. That's what the hogs are thinking. They're like, they think it's sabotage. And who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe I can feed into their paranoia a little bit, get them even further detached from reality. What's this one? Oh, Anonymous just trolling people. I don't know. Sure, let's read it. We told you it wouldn't work. Ha ha ha. It only affected the edges. And now there's a nice wide neon strip of algae in the center of the reflecting pool. Fucking idiots, complete moron. Anonymous just likes to dunk on conservatives a lot now. I like the original like ideology of Anonymous, but I feel like they've just become shit posters at this point. I don't even know if they do that much hacktivist stuff anymore. Let's see, what else do we got? Oh, okay. Okay, guys, we're going to move on from Algae-Gate to UFC 250. But all of these are kind of coalescing into something that I want to talk about a little bit broader. So let's go ahead and look at Trump's beautiful UFC 250 event. And we'll watch, this is on the front lawn of the White House. We got full idiocracy. We got, a UFC event. It would only be better if it was a WWE event, but a UFC event on the front lawn of the White House. Let's go ahead and see how that turned out. Or at least this initial, I assume this is before it actually started. Look at all them planes. Give them a taste of what it's like to be in a brown country. Just drop a couple bombs on them. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Jesus, people. It would have been hilarious. Or if like Iran, if an Iranian agent somehow like, like a secret Iranian agent somehow like made it through the pilot program and like was finally got this opportunity and he decided to fill in the weapons with like the bomb. I'm just kidding, people. I would never endorse something like that. Okay, I would never. What do we got? Oh, here we go. Rah rah, let's get it. Let's go. America or USA, 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 USA. Wow. That poor bird. That's gotta be stressful. This is the best day of this girl's life, though. I'm surprised. This is gonna sound mean, but I'm surprised that they allowed her to do it, considering how appearancist reactionaries and right wingers are. But like, I would have expected a bleach blonde, you know, like 6 foot tall, like 2% body fat, like girl in a bikini to do this, but you know, whatever. This is America. Okay. Well, anyway, there was that. But I did want to talk about this in a little bit more of a broad sense real quick. And this is going to be like, you know, it's not like a super important thing or anything, but I did want to mention it just to make it not just about like this. So like what I wanted to talk about is like there's this idea, right? And I think a lot of conservatives have never heard this term before. So I'm going to try to educate them. If any of you are watching, please stick around just for a little bit, because I want to talk about this bread in circuses. And I think there were some tweets that had mentioned this, but that a lot of people are calling all of this stuff bread and circuses. So Trump's UFC 250 event, the various beautification projects, and it is referring to superficial appeasement. It is attributed to Juvenal from Satire X, a Roman poet active in the late 1st and early 2nd century AD, and is used commonly in cultural, political, or particularly political contexts. In a political... I need to slow down for a second. In a political context, the phrase means to generate public approval, not by excellence in public service or public policy, but by diversion, distraction, or by satisfying the most immediate or base requirements of a populace. By offering a palliative, for example, food, bread, or entertainment, circuses, Juvenal originally used it to decry the selfishness of common people and their neglect of wider concerns. The phrase implies a population's erosion or ignorance of civic duty as a priority. Primarily, this came out of ancient Rome, because these were, I think, Roman poets that came up with this concept. This phrase originates from Rome in Satire X of the Roman satirical poet Juvenal, who saw bread and circuses as emblematic of the loss of republican political liberty. They're talking Republican and like not the party sense, like lowercase r. Already long ago, from when we sold our vote to no man, the people have abdicated our duties. For the people who once upon a time handed out military command, high civil office, legions, everything, now restrains itself and anxiously hopes for just two things: bread and circuses. Yeah, true. Juvenal refers to the Roman practice of providing free wheat to Roman citizens, the annona, as well as costly circus games and other forms of entertainment as a means of gaining political power. In much modern literature, this represents the annona as a barbarous and corrupting attempt of the Roman emperors to cover up the fact that they were selfish and incompetent tyrants. Sound familiar? Yet Augustus disapproved even the idea of a grain dole on moral grounds, even though he and every emperor after him took the responsibility and credit for ensuring the supply to citizens who qualified for it. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up because what is this if not bread and circuses, right? Or this is really just the circuses part. Honestly, we've moved beyond in American society bread and circuses. Like, we just let people die hungry on the street. We are just circuses. It's all circuses all the way down. It's circuses and circuses. And I wanted to also really quickly talk about something else related to this, particularly this portion of Rome. We're talking about Rome because the reason that I'm bringing this up in terms of Rome is because Rome was a declining empire once, and while it was in a different generation, the appearance of it was different. We do follow a lot of the same paths. We do follow, because like the reasons that Rome is said to have collapsed is because the political class became they were in a bubble. They were unresponsive to the needs of the masses. Does that sound familiar? They were focused on just taking bribes and living lives of luxury while the people, the citizens, were suffering. They were getting involved in costly wars that were, not beneficial to the people, even against the will of their people. Like, all of these sorts of things were all happening back in the day. And while we do live in modern society with modern technology, there is very similar aspects going on here. So I did want to talk about one more thing related to the upcoming Arc de Trump. Let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. Arc de Trump that they're trying to build. this is what it's supposed to look like, according to like rendering or like the plans, I guess. But let me just read this real quick. In late antiquity, Rome was declining economically, shifting culturally, and facing possible attacks from barbarians to the north. Money and resources to construct defensive fortifications were sparse, let alone those needed for grand art projects. Romans took to repurposing old building materials called spolia to construct necessary infrastructure. This is kind of the opposite of what we're doing. We have ungodly amounts of money for our military. We're just, borrowing. Like that's what we use for. That's another thing that's different about modern society is we can continue borrowing even though, because we have a fiat currency, we can continue borrowing with impunity. They didn't have that option in Rome. Built between 271 to 275 CE, the Aurelian Wall was constructed to deter the threat of the barbarians, blah, blah, blah. One second. But spolia, by the way, is what they were saying is the idea of like taking and repurposing other stuff into these monuments because they couldn't afford it. That's a little bit, like I said, not relevant in the era of fiat currencies. But as Rome was transitioning from the glorious empire of antiquity to the smaller Christian Rome of the Middle Ages, art and architectural features of the past were being recycled for use in new structures, especially churches, the basilica, all that stuff, Baths of Karsala, the original St. Peter's Basilica. But here, okay, maybe this was the part that I was more focused on. The spolia was used in imperial monuments, not just to save money and resources, but also for emperors to link themselves to great rulers of the past. The Arch of Constantine is a great example of this. Builders lifted entire sculptural panels from earlier monuments dedicated to Antonine emperors, also known as the Five God Emperors, and incorporated them into this new arch. Very few parts were specially sculpted for the arch. Many of the past emperors' faces were even recarved. I mean, you could also interpret that as a little bit of like laziness as well, which I think a lot of this modern stuff is also kind of lazy, the modern version of this, but really what I wanted to talk about though, or here, let's see. Yeah, really just what I wanted to talk to you is just like show you the symbology, right? I wanted to symbolically link this with, oh my gosh, where did it go? With this. And also the bread and circuses, which in our case is just circuses and circuses. So I just thought it would be interesting to kind of link those two. And I thought that the Arc de Triomphe versus the this Arch of Constantine, or the various arches of the declining Roman Empire, would be a nice way to do that. We'll see if this actually ever happens, by the way. But anyway, so that was that. Let's see. I think I just had one more story, which is, I think, just an article. So, and it's a short one. So let's go ahead and talk about everybody's favorite alleged CEO, CEO, like a death sentencer. Like, you know how the CEOs, Brian Thompson, was used to handing out death sentences. Luigi allegedly was able to do the same to him. the one who gave him the death sentence. The irony. Oh, the irony. Speaking of Greek and, well, I guess Roman plays or whatever from the previous story. But anyway, sorry. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this. So I saw this pop up on my news, and I thought that I could read it. It says, Luigi Mangione court hearing thrown into chaos after prosecutors blunder. A hearing in Luigi Mangione's state murder trial and the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was postponed until Wednesday after prosecutors say they failed to inform his jailers that he was needed in court. Okay, well, interesting. Let's go ahead and read it. A court hearing, who is this by? I'm trying to get better at reading those. Michael R. Sisak. I'm trying to get better at reading those so that I can try to remember these names if possible. If I see common occurrences, so that I can try to pepper in more nuance and commentary, knowing how they've reported on stuff in the past. But anyway, a court hearing for Luigi Mangione, the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, was unexpectedly delayed Tuesday after prosecutors admitted they failed to notify jail officials that he needed to be transported to court. Oh my God. Dude, these prosecutors are so incompetent. I think they're all under is it all under Judge Jeanine Pirro? Is she the one who United States attorney who is in charge of Luigi Mangione case? Or let me do it. Is Judge Jeanine Pirro in charge of Luigi's case? I always forget this. She is involved with it. She is part of the prosecution team that handles the federal charges. Yeah, so she's the one bringing it. That's what I meant. Yeah, she has been terrible. Her cases have failed at like a 50% rate, where usually under most presidencies, the federal U.S. Attorney General successes are like 90%, right? So she's 50% successful, and usually they're 90% successful, which just goes to show you how incompetent they are. So this does not surprise me in the slightest that they straight up forgot to tell the jail officials that he was needed in court. Judge Gregory Caro postponed the hearing until Wednesday after Assistant District Attorney Joel Siedemann told the court that prosecutors had not submitted the paperwork required to have Mangione brought from federal jail in Brooklyn, where he is being held. The hearing had been expected to address an undisclosed issue following a sealed proceeding held 2 weeks ago. Caro previously said the closed hearing was conducted at the defense's request, but did not reveal further details. Siedemann noted that U.S. District Judge Margaret Garnett, who is overseeing Mangione's federal case, had issued an order allowing him to appear in court wearing a suit. However, prosecutors acknowledged that the order alone was not enough to arrange his transport. Well, yeah, you should have told them that. Okay. I mean, yeah, this just seems like straight up incompetence, but I guess it was the U.S. District Judge that made the mistake, though. But however, this is all, I think, under the the prosecutorial team of Judge Jeanine Pirro. So I have a I have some I have reason to keep criticizing her. Mangione, 28, has pleaded not guilty to state and federal charges stemming from the December 4th, 2024 fatal shooting of Thompson outside a Manhattan hotel. If convicted, he could face life in prison. The high-profile case has drawn national attention since Thompson, 50, was shot while walking in United Health Group's annual investor conference, or to United Health Group's annual investor conference. Investigators allege a masked gunman approached from behind and opened fire before fleeing the scene. Authorities have said, yeah, we already know all that. Authorities have said words written on ammunition recovered during the investigation appeared to reference criticism of the health insurance industry. Who knows, though? Maybe they just print bullets with that shit on them now. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you now they do. I guarantee you can go to like your local gun store and buy like pre-printed bullets of like divest, depose, or whatever, deny, depose, what I can't remember exactly what it was, but I bet you could buy that at your local gun store now. Mangione, an Ivy League graduate from a prominent Maryland family, was arrested 5 days later at a McDonald's restaurant in Altoona, Pennsylvania. His state murder trial is scheduled, blah, blah, blah. Last month, Carl ruled that jurors may hear evidence, including a 3D printed handgun and a notebook that prosecutors allege link Mangione to the shooting. Defense attorneys have challenged key portions of the evidence, while Mangione continues to deny all allegations they did it. Hey, we don't know. We don't know if he did it. So... and I have a feeling that at least one juror is going to also not know if he did it. All you need is one person, man. One person who has experienced the evil nature of our healthcare system. Just one person in that jury pool. And that's enough to invalidate it. So, and I kind of have a feeling that that's what's going to happen, but who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Okay, people, that's the show. That's all you get. Maybe next time, if you want to see more, you got to come back tomorrow. Okay, people. It starts at 4:00 usually every day, assuming I'm not running late. And you even got a little extra today because I decided, I didn't decide. The meeting that I was going to go to was canceled. So lucky you. Anyway, yeah, that's the show. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching the VOD, love you too. This has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over.